my name is Selfdestructps, and in this video I'm going to be talking about Star Wars Battlefront, giving my opinions on it so far. So let's get into this Star Wars Battlefront review, starting with what I like about the game. Now, one of the most amazing parts of the game is, of course, its graphics. Because I have to say, these are the best graphics I've ever seen on a console. Everything is amazing, the lighting, textures, and amazing landscapes. The graphics help keep the iconic Star Wars maps alive. Endor especially looks amazing. I do wish we could play that map more in the day, where the sun would be shining through the trees a little more. I know in the Endor speeder chase it's sunny, however in the multiplayer it's sort of dark and dusty, so it doesn't really seem like it's really showing the full capability of the engine. If you are looking for a beautiful game which 100% reflects the key locations in the game and looks authentic, then this is definitely for you. Another aspect of the game I like is the customization. Not only are there a lot of different weapons, but there are also ways to customize your character. Many people have been getting upset because stormtroopers aren't supposed to have their faces shown. However, in the new film, it does revolve around a stormtrooper in certain parts, and he's always seen without his helmet on. So perhaps this will become more common and accepted once the film releases. I know stormtroopers are supposed to all look the same. However, this game is based more around the new film anyway. I guess that's why a quarter of the game is set on Sullust, a planet we don't even know anything about yet because it's in The Force Awakens. Now, although there are a decent amount of weapons in the game, I would have liked to see a little more customization here, simply because you can only use them as stock, and it would have added depth to the game if you could change the stats of a weapon by what attachments you used. I also love the star card system, where you choose 3 abilities to take with you onto the battlefield. It definitely adds a layer of depth, and I like the fact that there aren't set classes. Instead, you can build your own. Unfortunately, I do not think these were well balanced, so I'm pretty sure everyone will be running with a jump pack and some kind of grenade, just because they're the only ones which aren't very specific to certain situations. For example, the ion cannon is only good against AT-STs. Another awesome aspect of the multiplayer is the constant frantic nature of the battle. It is very different pacing to Battlefield. In this game, enemies are constantly in your face. However, there's also a bit more depth to combat than in Call of Duty, because you still feel like you're part of a side in the battle rather than just being a lone wolf. Now, before we get into the negatives of the game, there's one final aspect which is truly amazing, which is the sound. Not only is there original Star Wars music playing throughout the battle, the sounds of blasters, vehicles, lightsabers are all directly ripped from the movies, meaning you're going to get a completely iconic cacophony of sounds being blared all the time. However, now we get into the real problems with the game. There is nowhere near enough content. It is ridiculous that there are 4 planets, when its predecessor had about 20 planets. Sure, each planet has around 4 maps on it, and sure, the quality of the game is great. However, it does just feel like there's not really much here. I mean, 4 planets isn't much, and each map isn't particularly large, meaning each map feels like the same size as a TDM map in Battlefield 4, even when you're playing the supposedly large-scale Supremacy mode in Battlefront. There are around 3 or 4 different locations on each planet, as I said, so this does bump up the actual amount of maps. However, most of these maps are small deathmatch style ones. These, there's only one map for each large-scale game mode per planet, which means only the smaller game modes are going to offer a more varied map rotation. Now, getting into the offline modes, these are so limited to the extent where you can finish the missions within half an hour, and then you play the battles mode. Are you seriously, DICE? You can only play a TDM mode, plus the TDM mode is set on 1 map only per planet. There is not the same amount of maps with TDM as there are in the multiplayer, just 1 per planet. Everyone was hyped for the ability to play the same modes as in the online, but with bots. That means 40 players in the battles, not 5v5. This is outrageous. Adding this feature would have hardly taken much effort. If you've programmed the bots into a TDM mode, to add them to a large-scale mode, all you have to do is add more of them, and then set them to go towards objectives. I'm so disappointed that I can't play split screen Walker Assault with family or friends. Instead, we're stuck with boring team deathmatch with 10 players altogether, and I'm already bored of it. And the survival mode. Don't even get me started here. Possibly one of the most boring missions I have ever played, with short waves of enemies coming in at the beginning, and by the end, 3 TIE fighters simultaneously bombing you. The constant repetition of securing drop pods every 3 rounds is enough to drive me insane, as you're forced to stay idle out in the open, waiting for the pod to open up, which actually makes no sense. If the pod has landed, the item should just come out immediately. And if you leave the drop pod for more than a few seconds, the stormtroopers will secure it. The problem is, if you stay by the pod, you get bombed by TIE fighters, so there's really no way of approaching the pod safely. The whole reason a survival mode would be fun is to actually build up to something, and become stronger as you survive longer. Instead, in this mode, it just gets impossible by the end, and I just give up. In Modern Warfare 3 Call of Duty, the survival mode was fun because you could upgrade your weapons and equipment as you continued through the waves, and you actually had unlimited waves rather than 15 waves in this survival mode, meaning there's no target to beat and no challenge. The entire mission leads up to a ship picking you up at the end, and then a menu saying, "Do you want to replay?" Well, it's quite an easy question. No, I'm not going to replay. Also, 6 heroes and villains. Is that it? Where's like Chewbacca? Where's the new Sith Lord from the new film with that cool trident lightsaber? And we're gonna rant up here. The amount of content in the online is pretty poor. However, the offline content just completely takes the mick. And there's not content, and if there's not content being added to this game every month, then this game is just gonna grow old fast. What makes this game fun is its amazingly accurate representation of the movies. The battles are so authentic, the landscapes, the character models, the guns, the sound. The game's core mechanics are phenomenal, but they seem to have used this as an excuse to put not enough content in the game. I would rather there were half the actual villain characters, half the guns, half the star cards, no survival mode, if there were just more maps to play. Where is Death Star? Where's the Jedi Temple on Coruscant, Naboo, Polis Massa, Mustafar, Tantive 4, Dagobah? All of these classic maps from Battlefront 2, which could have easily been remade into this game, but are all just missing. 4 locations will never be enough places for a Star Wars game. It will never satisfy the Star Wars fan, because every Star Wars fan can name dozens of other planets. It's really not good enough that there are so many features missing. The maps, the instant action where you set up your own match with bots, space battles. And I'm quite disappointed so far. Right now, I'm actually enjoying the game. This is one of those games where you're playing it now, but you know in the future it's going to become boring. And it's really unfortunate because they've now missed out on creating the ultimate Star Wars game. Maybe next time, EA, but this game can never be Game of the Year material unless it has more content. So for that, I'm going to give this game a 6 out of 10. Amazing visual sound, accurate Star Wars battle recreations, overall an authentic Star Wars universe, but missing content and a complete lack of effort on the offline modes. That is all I have for this one, guys. If you enjoyed the review, then be sure to hit the like button and of course subscribe for more Star Wars Battlefront content to come. Right now I'm enjoying the game, but I can't see me playing it for more than a few months before I go back to Battlefront 4 and other games. But be sure to stick around as I have plenty of Battlefront montages to come. I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.